What is going on, everyone? It is Tyler McKinney back here again, and today we're going to finish out training camp. We've got 2 more preseason games that we have to review and a whole bunch of information that we got to get through. So I hope you're ready. I hope you're raring to go because we got a lot to cover today. Hey, if it's your first time here, glad to have you. If you're a return viewer, thanks for coming back and thanks for watching more videos. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. And remember, leave me those comments down in the comment section. Love to have conversations with you guys. And if you leave me a good comment, you know I'll feature it in an upcoming video. All right, so let's get down into the nitty-gritty and let's look at kind of what's all been happening because we've been seeing a lot with the XFL. And first and foremost, let's go ahead and let's touch on that story we talked about last week, and that was that Chad Johnson. Yes, that's right. Mr. Ocho Cinco himself was supposed to have a tryout for kicker with the XFL. Well, come to find out that the day before, sources are saying that the day before he came out and he withdrew his tryout and decided not to do it. And so now he's focusing on going over and covering the Super Bowl. That's what he's doing. But so all of you guys that have been wondering, what happened? Did he make a team? Did he make it? What did he do? It really didn't pan out to nothing, so it just ended up being just a good publicity story for the XFL and, to get their name out in the press again and to get Ocho Cinco's name out in the press again. So who knows, it might have just been a thing that they did just to get their names out there. Whatever reason, it did the job. So, guys, it worked. But anyways, if that's what you guys were wondering, whatever happened with it, nothing. So let's go ahead and let's move on to some more kind of uplifting news and some exciting news. Kenny Robinson, he was deemed eligible for the NFL draft. If you don't know anything about this story, all you need to know is that on all sides and all purposes, this is a very, very good thing, and this is huge for the XFL. Why do I say that? Well, let's first look at Kenny Robinson. If you remember, Kenny Robinson, he had some issues in college and some things, and he... depending upon how you look at it, was eligible. There was a lot of things going on, but it ended up being to where he pretty much couldn't play his senior season and opted not to even try playing his senior season, and he was projected to be a first-round draft pick. I mean, that's how well he was at safety. And so what he decided to do was he decided to put himself out there for the XFL draft. The XFL draft, and he went to the showcases, and he was drafted. And so the cool thing is, though, that he has now been officially deemed that he is eligible for the NFL draft. So he's going to go ahead, he's going to play the XFL season, and then he's going to go ahead and go into the NFL draft and be picked by some NFL team, and hopefully, rides off into the sunset as a perfect success story for the XFL. And this is what the XFL is looking for, because really right here, well, first, for Kenny, congratulations, man. Way to go out there and way to go get what you worked so hard for. That's what you've been working for. And, hopefully you get drafted and hopefully everything goes well for you. And good luck this upcoming season as well. Now, let's go ahead and let's turn to what it means for the XFL. This is huge for the XFL. This really opens the door for them to really snag up those guys who are really good, good senior guys that might not be on some good teams. Or, guys that got new coaches coming in, whatever. They've got some, maybe even have had some issues, some problems in that to where they can get out, they can play some football, and then get themselves raring to go for the NFL draft. I think that's great. It's awesome. And it's showing a couple things here. It's showing that the NFL doesn't really care. They just want talent. And if you are talented and you show them that you can play, they're going to give you an opportunity the best that they can to play. And again, it's kind of like what we talked about with that Antonio Brown thing. If the risk outweighs the talent, they're not going to go with it. But if your talent outweighs the risk, they're going to go with you. So that's kind of a neat thing here, to where it's going to be interesting to see how it develops and whereas the XFL continues on, because the reality of it is that they're funded for at least 3 seasons. So unless McMahon decides to pull the plug early, they've got 3 seasons in them. So as the next season rolls around, it'll be interesting to see how many of those of those, those senior guys they pull, or maybe even those junior guys that they pull, that guys knowing that, that they're going to be eligible for the NFL draft anyways, and that they can go and showcase their talent, against other professionals. So it really is kind of a neat little twist that they put on things, and it's a cool story for Kenny as well. So I thought that this one was really not only, just kind of one of those that, is a feel-good story, but it's definitely another victory for the XFL. And it just takes the whole training camp and really lifts it up and really just kind of shows the opportunity that these guys are getting with the XFL. So definitely a good thing. Now let's go ahead and let's turn our minds to the final two games, the final day of training camp, because really everything's, kind of winding down with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover these last two games, and then we're going to get into our final training camp, our rankings. We're going to go to our power rankings. So first and foremost, let's start things off with that. We found out that after teams score, after they, have a big score and they're coming off the field, they're actually going to get a mic thrown in their face. We're going to get a little bit of NASCAR style of things where it's like, as it's happening, what's going on, we're going to get the instant reactions. Take it for what it is. Sometimes you get really good reactions and sometimes not so good reactions. So hopefully maybe they'll just keep it to the positive side of things on the team that's doing well and interviewing them, and keep it possibly away from the negative side and, talking to the guys that, didn't do so well, or maybe, allowed the touchdown or whatever. So it's kind of an interesting tidbit. We'll see how that kind of develops throughout the season, and see if it's going to be something that's a distraction or kind of become one of those things that maybe it's like, talking to a coach as they're going into the tunnel at halftime, and kind of getting that generic answer. I don't know. It'll be interesting. We definitely have some characters in the XFL, so, we definitely might get some, real fun stuff in those little segments. So that was a cool thing, but let's go ahead and let's break these games down. First game that we had to start off was the LA Wildcats, and they were playing the Houston Roughnecks. And there were some interesting things to take from this game right off the bat. So Jalen McClendon, he started the game for Josh Johnson. For some reason, Josh Johnson wasn't playing. I don't know why they were holding him out. We really didn't get anything other than a Twitter, little Twitter blurb saying that, he was sitting this one out. So it was interesting. So they were down their starter for this game, and things they seem to start out really, really fast for Houston, and for Houston it was kind of interesting. We're still getting this quarterback competition still here at the end of training camp. That we've got Walker and Connor Cook who are trading the starting quarterback, the reps back and forth. And both of them seem to be playing pretty decent. It'll be interesting to see, what Coach Jones decides to do as they go further with this, to see, in the next couple weeks who's actually going to be named the starter on the depth chart. But it is one of those things where we're starting to see, as it's just been this gradual build for Cook, and my best of luck to both of them. They both played well today, but it seems to be that, Houston got in there, they did what they wanted to do, and then they kind of shut it down and tried some things. They tried some things and then kind of shut it down, and LA ended up winning the game. LA did some things all right in the game, but it definitely seems like that Houston let off the gas, and just kind of, started to kind of work on some things for the season. And you can definitely tell that in the interviews from the coaches, because when you looked at, kind of what the quotes from the coaches, that's kind of what, Jones said. He just said, yeah, we came out strong. We did what we wanted to do. It looked good. We tried some things, and we're ready to go. And then Moss, they interviewed him, and he said, hey, we came out and we weren't firing early, and then we kind of picked it up as we went. But overall, good camp. So you could kind of tell what was going on there. So even though the Wildcats pulled it out, it definitely Houston. If they would have played a real game, Houston probably would have beat them pretty bad. But this is still preseason, so who knows? Maybe LA's got some stuff up their sleeve as well. So let's go ahead and let's move on to the second game. Now there wasn't really a whole lot going on in the second game. It was kind of interesting, the fact that it was kind of New York's game, and it was kind of from the start to the finish. It was kind of New York's game, and they look good on both sides of the ball. They seem to be doing well on both sides of the ball, being able to run. They had some good throws. Again, Mac McMillan's looking good, and that's what we've heard all camp. And so it was neat to see that. But they got up early, and they just kind of kept adding to their to their lead. They got some young guys in, so that was a good thing. Young guys, but got some second stringers and stuff in and that. And Tampa Bay, they scored some here and there, and they got some things, but it definitely seemed like that New York got what they wanted, and that Tampa Bay's still trying to figure out what they're going to do yet. Now who knows? It's preseason, so they might be trying out a whole lot of things and that with it. I'm really curious to see, how this team is going to shake out. Because as things are going on, it's almost like Tampa Bay, I really can't put my finger on them. Now, granted, Callaway's just got to the team. He hasn't been with the team for very long. So these next couple weeks are really going to be formative for their offense, to see really what Tampa Bay's offense is going to do. So just kind of real quick recap of the score. New York won 27-15, beating the Vipers. So that rounds everything out. And all we have left is really roster cuts, and we'll definitely be getting into those tomorrow. All the teams have to have their rosters down to 52 players tomorrow, so they have to go from 70 down to 52. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see the guys that don't end up on rosters. And I'm wondering if we're going to get, if they're going to announce that Team 9, those 40 players that are going to get thrown on a Team 9 to be ready to go if, a team needs to call up a guy and bring up a guy. So it'll be interesting to see if we get those rosters tomorrow, or if we just get the breakdown of the 52. So, just really curious, but we are officially done with the first training camp, and it was wild. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun. We got a lot of information, and yeah, I just enjoyed the heck out of it. And I just hope we don't go into a 2-week lull here before we get ready for the start of the season in the first games, because they've got me all pumped on, and I am all psyched and ready to go for the start of the season. Now, let's go ahead. We've got a couple things that I want to talk about and I want to hit yet. So let's go ahead and let's look at the power rankings. The reason why I want to go with the power rankings is because we've had a little bit of movement here. So I'm just going to go ahead and recap where we sat after the first week of training camp. Where we sat at the first week of training camp, we had St. Louis at number 8. We had number 7, Tampa Bay. Number 6, we had Dallas. Number 5, LA. Number 4, New York. Number 3, Seattle. Number 2, Houston. And number 1, DC. Now, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to put these teams into about 3 different categories here. So we're going to put them into the lowest category is going to be, sorry. Hopefully, you guys can do better next year, or, sorry, there's always next year. We've got then the second tier is going to be, there's some work that needs to be done. And then there's going to be the third tier is going to be teams that are poised and ready to win a championship. So starting off with our lowest tier, and we have, and it's going to be, there's always next year is going to be, that's the tier we're in, and it's number 8, and it's Tampa Bay Vipers. I just feel like right now they are way behind all the other teams, and it's starting to show definitely on the field. Now, who knows? They might be able to turn it around, and that Trestman might just be trying things. So, I don't know with that, but I've got them at number 8. Now, let's go ahead and let's move into that second tier. And this is the tier where the teams have some work to do. Meaning that I think that these are teams where change a few things here or there, and I definitely think that they're going to be right up there, getting ready into the next tier and possibly winning the championship. So they got a couple weeks to kind of solidify some things and change some things up. I've got number 7. I got St. Louis. The fact of the matter here is that St. Louis, Ta'ama'u is going to be a great quarterback, but it seems to be they need to get this offense rolling a little bit better than what it is right now. The defense is looking stout. It's looking great, and I think that they're going to be an okay team in the league, but if they can get that offense humming, they're going to be a force to reckon with. And so they really need some more. They need some more time right now, especially with losing their offensive coordinator, about a week or so ago. They really need some time to really start to gel in these new positions and really get the feel for each other with that. So that's something that can be easily fixed in a couple weeks, but I've got them at number 7. At number 6, I've got the LA Wildcats. And, even though Josh Johnson didn't start today, I just don't really have the faith in them that I just feel like as things are going to progress that they are not going to do the things to win the game at the end. I really feel like, they won that game, but they really didn't win the game. I really feel like, Houston exploited them early on and then they shut down. And they got what they needed to, and they were done. And I think that LA is still trying to figure out where they're at. Now, who knows? That might all change when we get Josh Johnson in there running that offense, and that might be different. But they do have all the pieces in place to definitely be a team to be reckoned with in the league. I don't think that they're there yet. So I've got them at number 6. Number 5, I've got the Seattle Dragons, and I moved them down just a little bit. And I know we're not taking a whole lot of stock in where teams are falling in that with it, but it's definitely looking like this is BJ Daniels' team. And so it's looking that Silvers has kind of lost his spot. And so I've got them kind of here floating at number 5, but they could easily be title contention starting week 1. I look at it and I see all the talent that needs to be there. They're definitely running a system that they want to. Looks like I think that really, they were one of those teams. They lost their preseason game, but I really feel like that they were really trying things and not necessarily trying to win the game. They were more trying to figure things out for the season and really try stuff. So I don't put a lot of stock in that. Like I said, I've got them in that, a little bit of work needs to be done, and I really do feel that way because I feel like, in 2 weeks they can turn it on and they could be leading the West, and we could see them, ready and poised to win a championship. So definitely see them that they could move up. But, that's kind of where I have them in that second tier. Now let's go and look at our first tier. And these are teams that are poised and ready that at least I feel ready to win a championship. And I've got at number 4, I've got the New York Guardians. The Guardians, listen, I think they're going to live and die by the leadership of Matt McGloin. And I think that they're going to go as far as Matt McGloin can take them. And I think that offense, I think they're going to pound the ball. And I think that they're going to put the game in McGloin's hands. And I think that he's poised and ready to take this league by storm. And it really showed just how well they handled Tampa Bay. Now, granted, I feel like, Tampa Bay's a little less, kind of on a different plane than everybody else. But all that being said, I really feel really good about New York. And again, I'm going to tell you, New York fans, you're going to have a sneaky, fun team to watch here. They're going to you're going to watch. They're going to jump up and bite some teams. So I think that they're going to be fun at number 4. Number 3, I moved Dallas Renegades up. I was really impressed with how they've really handled this adversity, and it really hasn't been anything that's really affected them. Losing Landry Jones, and the fact of the matter is that Philip Nelson's jumped in there really well. We'll see if Dungy. I don't know if he has enough. He's had enough time with the team to really even take over that role. But hey, Nelson seems to be taking over. They seem to be looking fine and that with it. And I could see them, especially if they get Landry Jones back. Boom, right there for championship contention. Looking good, looking solid. At number 2, I've got Houston Roughnecks again. And really the only question I have about this team is after they've shown me just how they've come out there, their defense has played fairly decent, and that is just who's going to be the quarterback and who's going to be the leader of this team. Right now I'm starting to see this two-man thing, and it's not over yet with it. But I just, every time we see it, every time, it just seems Connor Cook keeps rising and rising and rising, and I wonder if Jones might make that decision too late in the process to where it really doesn't become Connor Cook's team, and that hurts the team. I don't know. It could be just Walker's team, and that they have such a talented guy in Connor Cook that they're not going to not put him on the field. I don't know. It's just a weird situation. That's why I have him at number 2. Everything else looks great. They look solid, poised and ready to go to win a championship. So I definitely like them a lot. And at number 1, DC. There really wasn't a whole lot with it. They came out, they tried some things, and it was just a nice, easy, business trip. No big deal. And that, it's Cardale Jones's team. The defense is solid, looks really good. They look really, really sharp. And they look poised and ready to especially take on, the rest of the East there. And so, as I look at it, yeah, they're my number 1 power team ending the preseason training camp, whatever you want to call it. So let's go ahead and let's recap it. Number 8, Tampa Bay. Number 7, St. Louis. Number 6, LA. Number 5, Seattle. Number 4, New York. Number 3, Dallas. Number 2, Houston. And number 1, the DC Defenders. So yeah, those are my power rankings for the end of training camp. Now, there's one thing though that I want to talk about because I think it's fascinating and neat. The league made such a big deal about these tier 1 quarterbacks when they assigned these guys. And, it could quite possibly be, we could be really, I don't think that it's going to happen, but it could be that only 3 of the tier 1 quarterbacks will actually start game 1, come February 8th. And as we look at it, if you look at it, Tampa Bay, I think they're still looking at Aaron Murray. However, Quentin Flowers is still there. And that's my possible one, to get it to, but I think Aaron Murray is probably going to start there. When you look at it, St. Louis, Ta'amau, I think he's gonna start there. But LA, you got Josh Johnson. So Luis Perez, who was the guy that they have, he's already been traded off of the team. So right there's one tier 1 quarterback that will not be starting week 1. All right, we got Seattle Dragons. Looks like it's BJ Daniels' team and not Silver's. That's 2 right there. And then New York, we've got Mac McGloin, which talked about him. Dallas, Landry Jones is hurt, and it doesn't, to me, indications seem that I don't think he's going to be back for the starting game, and so I'm going to put that as number 3. So that's going to be a third tier 1 quarterback that won't be starting. And then Houston Roughnecks, this could be Connor Cook's team. That's 4. So there's 4 right there, because Walker was their tier 1 quarterback. And then DC, we got Cardale Jones, this is pretty much his team. So we got 4 guys. 4 of the 8 total teams, half of the teams that could quite possibly not have their tier 1 quarterback starting on day 1. So the question is, what does that say? Well, what that says to me is that the XFL, they've got a lot of talent out there. And also, too, they've picked up a lot of guys as they've gone on. So a lot of these guys that were on these practice squads, they went out and they picked these guys up. And, they definitely went out there and got more talent. And they continue to go out there and try to get more talent with that, which I think is a great thing. And it's starting to show. And so it's good because we're getting the competition, which is what the guys need, And so all in all, I think it's a neat thing that, and especially these these coaches and these teams, they're not afraid to change things up and try things, which I think is really, really good. And, not worried about, changing the quarterback, this and that, and, make sure. No, they're trying to figure it out fast and quick, and this is what we're coming up with. But I just found that that's fascinating and just a neat thing, because you don't see that very often, the carousel of the quarterbacks and stuff like that. So it's just kind of a neat thing with that. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about that down in the comment section. Guys, let me know your power rankings down in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the Tier 1 quarterbacks and who's going to be starting on Week 1. All right, so listen, guys, I know that you're busy, and I know that I'm busy, so let's get on out of here. You have a good night. Bye.